cinematographers to understand why they're choosing the camera they choose, the lens they choose, if it is film, what kind of film and why, and understanding, learning that how directors choose their color palettes and make music decisions. All of those were really helpful because that's what you don't get involved in much as an actor.
And what was the most challenging part of that?
Music was very, very challenging.
To create mood, to create...
Because I'm very specific about music, and I had music that I had in my mind that I would play all the time while I was writing, while I was directing, that really created the mood. But then when you put it on the image and the emotion is the same, it doubles up and it's too much. So actually the music that works it's counterintuitive. It's like not what you think is the emotion. So that was really surprising and challenging.
And where did you film it?
We filmed almost entirely in Jerusalem, and then we filmed a little bit in the desert outside, and also in the north to get the kibbutz and some of the more dream sequences.
Mostly Israeli actors?
All Israeli actors except for me, who am
we do Israeli.
Part. Yes, and also a few Palestinian or Arab Israeli nationals.
When will it open in Israel?
Oh, it opened in Israel last summer, actually.
Oh, last summer.
And
yes, so
it opened there first, and was very nicely received, which was great.
And how did they see it? Did they see it as a story of the founding of the modern state of Israel?
Yes, and I also think...
And the story of their favorite novelist?
A national treasure.
Yeah, clearly a national treasure.
Yes. I think both, for sure. I mean, it was really interesting how moved people were. There's a scene when the UN vote to approve the creation of the state of Israel happens, and when we were shooting it, I mean, everyone was just like, because it's a story, it's sort of, I think the equivalent of, I mean, not the equivalent, but how people say they remember where they were in the JFK assassination, right, of the man in the moon, and it's a story that people tell, like that's the story that everyone's heard.
When they heard on the radio of the UN vote.
Yeah, that's what we've heard from our grandparents and parents, and so to be there and to sort of recreate that, everyone was very, very emotional while we were shooting it.
And have you had the opportunity to talk to people who sort of participated in that? I mean, they're obviously dying away now.
Yeah, well, Amos was the most amazing person to describe it to us, because he was a child then, of course, but he said that there was just this scream, this collective scream that just sounded like the voices of everyone who had ever died and everyone who was living, just screaming out. Because it was obviously this incredible, tragic joy of having lost everything, but now finally having their own place. And that his father said to him, which is in the film, now that we have a Jewish state, you'll never be bullied again for being Jewish, which of course is like a tragic thing to think now that was, that was the belief.
I mean, you wonder whether Israel would be a different place today if it hadn't had to constantly live with the struggle that it lives, and at the same time, for better or worse.
Right.
In a sense. Some of the political fights that have taken place there, if in fact, and you wonder about the Palestinians, if they'd had a homeland and they'd had a place.
Of course.
And that they had been able to coexist peacefully together, and how both might have, created something really wonderful.
Yeah.
And it started in '48 when they could have accepted the UN mandate at the time.
Yeah, well, it's certainly a tragedy for both peoples, but hopefully not over. It's hopefully something possible to change. So.
What is the WE charity?
We Day is it's a group that tries to get both children in the developing world and the developed world into a new place. So in the developing world, they build schools that have wells and latrines and healthcare and small business loans for the mothers of the children who go there, all in one all in one village so that they create this really sustainable school model. And in the developed world, they get young kids to raise money for these schools, and then they go help build them. And then they also support just kids feeling empowered that they can do something to change the world. So it's a really wonderful kind of group that I've been lucky enough to be a small participant in, that really gets kids helping other kids.
How do you think making this film has changed you?
It was really interesting when I first started, that I wasn't used to expressing my opinion so in a clear way, and expressing what I wanted. And Jill Soloway, who's the creator of Transparent, among other things, she's a woman I really admire, had this speech last year about how she thinks that part of the reason there's not so many female directors is that she's said that directing is very much about desire, and that we aren't comfortable with female desire. And you have to say, I want that, I want that, I want that. And it was hard for me at the beginning when they would say, what color should we make this wall in the house? Or, do you think the length of the skirt is right? Or what kind of filter do you want to put on the lens? I would say, I'm not sure. Tell me if this is stupid, but no. And no one wants you. When you're the leader, they want you to say, I want this, I want that, I like that, that's not good, that's not right, and you have to be clear and direct. And I knew what I wanted, I just didn't know how to express it. And it was amazing. Within a week, I was very comfortable. But it was interesting to see that, at 31, when I directed it, I still hadn't developed that in myself. And this definitely helped me develop that, just clarity and comfort with saying what I want.
And what does your family think?
My family's been really wonderful about it and supportive of it. And, it's obviously meaningful to them, too, because it is sort of a piece of
personal.
our story, too.
Thank you for coming. Much success.
Thank you so much for having me in.